this is Mr. Charles, and I wanted to talk to you briefly today, outside, away from the office, kind of like talk to you in paradise. Maybe to grab your attention, but it is nice out here. I even got my little willy dilly thing up here. Well, let's talk about some things I'm getting a lot of phone calls concerning, and that's November. November of this year. A lot of drivers are concerned that they're going to have their CDL just snatched from them, or it's going to have to be reinstated. Well, here's the situation. If you have a SAP violation and you're absolutely doing nothing, those days are over with. You get a SAP violation starting in November and afterwards, you're going to have to make a move on it immediately. It cannot just sit out on the clearinghouse. After a period of time, a grace period may be given to you, maybe not, but the state or the federal government, which is the FMCSA, will make a move on it for you. You may have it taken away, downgraded, or have to be reinstated by the states. Now, this is already occurring in states that I've been working with closely for the last couple of years. South Carolina, North Carolina, Idaho, and Alabama. Those states and their CDL units and the DMVs of those states, they know Mr. Charles. I've been working with them, with my drivers, getting their CDLs back in a valid state after they go through the SAP process with me. They just receive all the SAP information from a valid and certified, qualified SAP that's maybe on their SAP particular directory, so it's no counterfeits, and I'm on everybody's directory. And it gets taken care of. My drivers get their CDL back in a positive, valid state after going through me. This will happen in all 50 states now. And we're not clear on the exact magnitude and the degree of difficulty this will be for you. That will become more clear on more information that the FMCSA provide for us when times get closer. But just know this, the days of you just having your SAP violation set on the clearinghouse and you do nothing, you will have to get that thing reinstated most likely. It's not totally destroyed, but you would have to get it reinstated. Okay, so make sure you take heed of that. Also, we want to talk about, I'm getting a lot of calls from drivers that just need counseling or asking questions of me because I'm somewhat known on YouTube, and their existing SAP is not providing the answers they're asking and filling in the gaps concerning the SAP process that they need, according to the drivers. I'm not here to beat up on any other SAPs. We're a small industry and we somewhat stick together. However, if you do have to call me concerning questions because you feel I may have more of that wheelhouse that you need, well, I've been answering the phone and doing it, but you cannot switch SAPs. Once you select the SAP on the clearinghouse and you went somewhat deep into the SAP process, into the steps, you have to stay with that SAP. You cannot switch horses in midstream. And really, you shouldn't be talking to me because it might be somewhat an ethics violation for me to even intervene on another SAP's case. And I've been aware of that. That's why all my comments and answers and consultations have to do with just the basics, the surface part. Nothing concerning somebody else's SAP particular routine of how they do things. Also, you want to go ahead and try to build a strong rapport with your SAP. Try to do your part, CDL drivers, of getting a relationship with your SAP. Having questions written down on a piece of paper so you can have them beforehand. Just preparing yourself a little bit better. Maybe the SAP will come around and quality and level of care that they provide will go up because you're asking great questions. Now, another thing that's been going on around here is the big one. This one has been the Godzilla in the ocean, breathing fire, taking all the air out the room. The monster. Marijuana and SAP violations. In everybody's mind, marijuana, and I mean across the nation, don't have to be truck drivers, is not seen as a serious drug. Maybe somewhat of a gateway drug, but it's to the equivalent of drinking a couple of beers or taking a shot of bourbon to take the edge off after work. According to the FMCSA, the Department of Transportation, no, they don't see it that way, and it's part of the Big Five that's prohibited. THC cannot be found in your body, in your system, if you're a CDL holder. Whether you're on duty or on vacation, whenever you're called to do a drug test, it cannot be found in your system. Well, Mr. Charles, it's just marijuana. I don't wrap my trailer around a pole. I don't drive crazy, like I'm on alcohol. That's true. Still, the FMCSA is the boss and everybody else are the Indians. They're the chiefs. So, what do we do about this marijuana population of CDL holders that's getting found with it in their system? Well, obviously, you're going to have to call me, Mr. Charles. And when you do, when it concerns that particular area, me and my team with Focus 7.LLC and other entities that's being attached to Focus 7.LLC, a lot of consortiums, a lot of treatment centers around the nation are taking notice of Focus 7.LLC. Let's see. There it is. That's the name of the business, Focus 7.LLC. But my drivers, they know me as Mr. Charles. They call me Mr. Charles. So, there's a initiative that's slowly brewing of how to deal with marijuana because there's a large lack of knowledge concerning THC and its use. It is a substance, THC, and when you see it in its truest form, like in a cup or glass you can see through, you'll see it's oily, and you will see that it's not something you really want in your system. It looks pretty terrible. Well, it lodges into your fat and goes dormant, goes to sleep. That's why it stays there so long in your system for 60, 90, but not that long, but 30 days typically, or maybe even a little shorter. Yeah, it's a sleepy drug, and it wants to stay in there where it's nice and warm. Look, THC does have effects on the mind. It really do. Slow reaction time, and you cannot have that between your eyes, your hands, and your feet operating a machine. You have to have everything working at a quick optical effects. Now, THC does have an optic problem with your mind also. It slows the reaction, but it also affects your memory. The memory gets slowed down. Your mind has to dig deeper into the files of your memory, and it takes longer to retain information or to bring information back. This can be costly. Also, marijuana may also make you daydream a little bit more. Now, people love it because it takes the edge off. The effects are calming. People can get good sleep on it. and it appears to help in people's daily lives that have a hectic, highly focused, type A type personality. It still cannot be found in your system. Now, how do we work with marijuana? Well, we have to see marijuana as it truly is. It's going to be eventually legal in all 50 states. That doesn't mean you can still have it in your system. We have to look at it clearly. What do we do about it? CDL drivers, you have to first make a decision. Am I going to have it taken out of my life or not? Yes or no? You may have a third option, which is wait. That's no. So will you have it taken out of your life? Will you do something about it? Yes or no? If your decision is yes, start looking at the cognitive distortions that it has been doing to you. And the entities with Focus 7 LLC that I mentioned earlier, we will try to broadcast some more recovery related information and maybe in groups and classes. We're thinking about it. And it's going to take some work, so it's going to take some time. But we're thinking about doing it, maybe even on YouTube, Rumble, and the Roku channel, where information concerning marijuana recovery becomes public and free. I cannot substitute treatment, but I can give you information and prep my drivers concerning marijuana use. Marijuana does provide or conducts distortions in your thinking. As scientists, a long time ago, a lot of counselors and researchers has found at least 10 of them. There's really 15, but 10 are prevalent. We're going to go into the 10 cognitive distortions and see how they relate to your thinking. And I want to let everybody know these 10 cognitive distortions not with people, only with people with marijuana. It's with just about everybody. If you want to get your mind right and straighten out your thinking, we're going to look at those 10 cognitive distortions. And you're going to be in wonderment of, wow, I do that. And I don't even use drugs. This will help a lot of people in all their areas of thinking. So we want to try to produce that and get it broadcasted, maybe one at a time, because they're pretty thick and the knowledge is pretty dense. Also, marijuana addiction is a strange one because marijuana is not necessarily an upper, a stimulant, or a downer, a depressant. Marijuana is a psychedelic. Yeah. Peyote, mushrooms, etc. It's in that area, which makes it a psychotropic that's really strange to work with. You have to have a lot of motivation instilled in you from a counselor to even get you started on marijuana recovery. That means you're going to have to look at the pros and cons. Start off there. Collect the pros and cons and see who comes out on top. Are there more cons than pros that this thing is producing in your life? That helps you make a decision. Also, cognitive dissonance. We want to look at that area where are you now and where could you be? You're here, but if you have marijuana elimination as one of your goals, it's going to be up here. Look at the space between that. That's where the work is, that space between that. That's what we're going to cover with cognitive dissonance. We want to produce steps right in that space where you can logically move methodically from 1 to 2 until you get to removal of marijuana. Yes, we want to look at the cognitive dissonance. We want to look at the contrast of your thinking and the contradictions. Just like the distortions, our minds, in the way they tell us stories in order to cope with things, are telling false stories. Marijuana can make your mind your enemy. Yeah, because it will not operate at 100%. You will come to conclusions, you will make assumptions that make you have wrong conclusions. Let me repeat that. Marijuana is a substance when it comes to your thinking. You'll come to bad assumptions that have you come to bad conclusions or wrong conclusions. In other words, a lot of bad judgment. So, let's look at it. Let's concentrate on the positives and the ways to work with marijuana recovery. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. I got a lot to display and disseminate concerning that area. Also, we want to make sure that this is the summertime. The weather does have an effect on people's behavior, especially on the roads. That means road rage is going to increase in its percentages because the weather has an effect on our minds and our moods. And we already know traffic. Well, we don't have to go there. Everybody be careful. All my drivers out there. Now, when you have a SAP violation, call me, Mr. Charles. Why? You will typically have a good rapport with me. In the beginning, we will talk. If you emotionally available for that. A lot of my drivers tell me that they got more from me from anybody else just in the first couple of minutes of our conversation. What is that? More attention. They have finally gotten some attention and somebody has finally listened to them. And we know how tough it is to have a professional in healthcare to listen to you. It's getting worse and damn near impossible. Professionals don't listen anymore. Drivers need somebody to listen. If you go into an area and I find out there's a particular drug that was found in your system that's reported on the clearinghouse, I may ask you some questions about that drug. What happened? What were you thinking when the ingestion of that drug occurred? What was happening around you, around your peripheral vision? What was happening around your orbit in your particular area? Who was present with you? Was it a sports bar type of alcohol-fueled atmosphere? Or was it somewhat of a private, intimate, somewhat illicit relationship that triggered you to use drugs? You have to look at it clearly. When it comes to marijuana and other drugs, especially the harder drugs that I will send you to treatment for, you've been triggered. We have to look at our triggers, get to know them inside and out, have a plan for every trigger that occurs. So we are ahead of the game even before we get triggered, and we know what to do when it happens, when it hops right in front of our eyes. We cannot enter into the world of being triggered with a blank canvas anymore. We got to have a plan. That's the type of things we talk about with Mr. Charles. That's why I'm a very popular SAP. I want you to call me. I want you to call me when you got a SAP violation. I'm here and I'm available for you. You know me, I kind of always answer the phone the best I can. You guys have a good summer, and you see me out here again. We have a step 2 on this particular subjects or others. And you'll see me in paradise. Okay, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.